what's happening in Iraq is, and we back in the day, this is something that we all knew was an eventuality, I think, of the illegal invasion and occupation of Iraq. Apparently now, and this was also inevitable, Sunni and former Baathists and Sunni tribal leaders are lining up behind the ISIS, the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria,
Yep.
or the Islamic State in Levant, which sort of includes both those areas. So people refer to it as ISIS and ISIL. They are making their push towards Baghdad. Iranian Revolutionary
They've taken
Guards.
Mosul already and
They have
Crete,
taken
remember?
Mosul. They have taken Tikrit. They took Fallujah some time ago. The Peshmerga of the Kurdistan forces have taken Kirkuk. The country is unraveling, and
Yeah.
the Ali Sistani has now put out a call, and it's not like a 10 on the sort of the meter, because he didn't call it a jihad, but he basically put out a call for all Shia and all Iraqis to join the Iraqi forces to fight back against the ISIS. But of course, many of the Sunnis are saying, you know what, F this, because we have not been living in a great situation here with the Shia paramilitary that have been punishing us essentially and killing us. It is completely unraveling, and there's not a lot that the U.S. can do. I think we're probably going to see airstrikes. My guess would be by the beginning of next week, if not this weekend.
Right.
But there was nothing that could be done, in my opinion.
But here's what's going to happen is, we're going to hold it off for a certain period of time. Obviously, money will not be a problem. It's flowing in from Saudi Arabia, parts of other parts of the Middle East, parts of Turkey. They're who want to encourage this. Everyone has their own interests there. Clearly, Iran is obviously playing the Shia side, as well as what's in the civil war in Syria and with Hezbollah in Lebanon. And this is not to say that there weren't already that Lebanon didn't have its problems and there wasn't fighting going on in places, whatever. But this is the chaos that we certainly helped unleash or put on steroids by our, as you put it, illegal invasion, our trumped-up invasion with a bunch of guys that still are able to at least in the United States, travel freely, painting pictures of themselves in the bathtub and, putting out books about how brilliant they are and going on Fox News all day as contributors. Charlie Pierce points out a lot of time, I think, and I think he's right about this, that this sort of began with Iran Contra when we didn't do anything there. We essentially made Iran Contra okay, by the fact that the people that perpetrated that got away with what they did. And some of them, like Elliot Abrams and Otto Reich and others, joined the second Bush administration. And you look at the simplicity of these, self-entitled intellectuals like Paul Wolfowitz, who we're talking about the people throwing roses at us and whatever, the simplicity of if we just go in and take out the bad guy, everything will work out and there'll be a democracy. The just how stupid you have to be. The lack of understanding of the way any country or society works, the way that when you take out any stabilizing force, even if it's a bad one like Saddam Hussein, that then every interest that's been suppressed, every group that thinks they have something to gain, everyone worried about their safety, they will find someone to ally with. They'll find some way to get involved. And, it's inevitable. And we began it when we went into Iraq and we took all these Baathists and threw them out on their butts and just, threw them out of government, shamed them, didn't give them any role, didn't give them any money, any means for sustaining themselves. And that has continued, and it's continued with Maliki and others, and again with all the other outside forces. And this was the inevitable result, as it was in Vietnam and as it has been in any other place where we've gotten involved and just helped lead to destabilizing a region. It's not to say that this couldn't have eventually happened potentially without us, but we certainly made sure it did. And we can bomb and we can hit these Al Qaeda at least sympathizers, if not directly aligned with them.
Oh no, in fact they are considered too extreme for Al Qaeda. And so they're actually, the ISIS forces are actually fighting Al Qaeda elements in Syria because they're considered too extreme for Al Qaeda.
Al Qaeda is the moderates now.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of like the Republican Party, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, let's go through some of these greatest hits. Because this is what we didn't have the opportunity to do the full show yesterday. And I have a whole list of these greatest hits. And I want to start with Thomas Friedman because more,
Let me say quickly, even before you get to him, that today Judy Miller was on Fox discussing Iraq. So, just in case you didn't see that. I mean, I saw it because an old friend of the show, Dorsey Shaw, tweeted it out, the image of her talking on Fox. But yes, Judy Miller.
That's just so
it is Fox after all.
Unbelievable. Like, how does she get up in the morning and get that call and just not say, like, you know what, I'm going to stay away from this one?
This is one I think I'll avoid.
I mean, just unbelievable. I hope Thomas Friedman right now, I mean, I said this yesterday on 3 to 6. I hope this guy is sitting in a cave because the idea that he would show his face. I want to read this from 2003, October 30th, 2003, a couple of months after the invasion. Let's get real. What people who blew up the Red Cross and Iraqi police fear is not that we're going to permanently occupy Iraq. They fear that we're going to permanently change Iraq. The great irony is the Baathists and Arab dictators are opposing the U.S. in Iraq because, unlike many leftists, got to shit on the leftists, pull that too, they understand exactly what this war is about. They understand the U.S. power is not being used in Iraq for oil. 6 months earlier, 7 months earlier, he wrote a piece like, I woke up after I was on the beach today and I realized this is, of course, about oil before the invasion, but forget that. Or imperialism, or to shore up a corrupt status quo as it was in Vietnam and elsewhere in the Arab world during the Cold War. They understand that this is the most radical, liberal, revolutionary war the U.S. has ever launched. A war of choice to install some democracy in the heart of the Arab Muslim world. What an effing a-hole.
Yeah, I don't know if there's much to add to that.
No.
He's just one of
Bill Kristol.
One of so many of the either neoconservative or faux moderate center-lefty voices that were so wrong.
What was so damaging about him is that people who would be inclined to say, hey, you know what? There are weapons inspectors on the ground. You're selling us on this weapons of mass destruction. We should wait until see really what these weapon inspectors come up with. And so many people, I think, were swayed by Thomas Friedman in the so-called middle, in the sort of like center-left of this country.
That's why he does when they're reading it in the New York Times.
Yeah.
When they're reading it in the New York Times from Thomas Friedman, the op-ed pages, and Judy Miller in the news pages and whatever, then, to them it's not coming from the New York Post or from Fox.
Right. And when Cheney can go on Meet the Press and cite the New York Times,
right,
reporting on a leak that he provided that we didn't know it came from him. I mean, that's the game. That's Johnny Ball game right there. Here's Bill Kristol, of course, still a moron, still a Fox News contributor. There's been a certain amount of pop sociology in America that the Shia can't get along with the Sunni, and the Shia in Iraq just want to establish some kind of Islamic fundamentalist regime. There's almost no evidence of that at all. Iraq's always been very secular. It goes on. I mean, I got a whole list of like Max Boot.
Well, I mean, you couldn't.
Michael
I mean, there were so many of those liberal hawks back then. Hey, I'm a liberal hawk.
Yep.
That became the cool thing to be, and the trail is long, and they are as responsible as the Bill Kristols and the neocons for this idiocy. But we're going to hear them all this weekend.
Yep.
I mean, someone should keep track of every single one of these jackasses.
I think we will. I think
I mean,
we will.
My old friend McCain will be on. Maybe I'll write a piece for somebody in sort of a preemptive response, because I know him by now, and I know what lies he'll tell and what things he'll say, how he'll make it out like he was right, that this joker is even taken seriously on anything anymore is its own statement on our democracy.
Here's John McCain, who will be on the Sunday shows this weekend.
All of them, I promise you.
And all of them talking about how he had the plan back in 2008. He said, we're going to have a democracy by 2013 in Iraq. That's when I will pull out my troops. Of course, in 2011, reminder to people, the Iraqi parliament and the Maliki government would not sign and had no desire to sign any type of agreement that would extend U.S. forces in that country for 5,000 or 7,000 or 8,000, none of them. So that whole thing is going to be a bunch of BS that we hear too. Not that we should have kept them in there, because there's no way that 5 or 10 or 12,000 U.S. Soldiers, military personnel, are going to achieve what 100,000 couldn't have in the years before. But here is a compilation of John McCain, and we'll have Matt will give us the dates. It was put together by MSNBC, and it's a compilation. Matt will give us the dates in which McCain says this stuff. Go ahead, Matt.
This first one is from October 18th, 2001.
The second phase is Iraq. There is some indication, and I don't have the conclusions, but some of this anthrax may, and I emphasize may, have come from Iraq.
Oh, is that right?
If that may be the case, then that's when some tough decisions are going to have to be made too.
This next clip's from March 13th, 2003.
And I should say, the last one, he was on Letterman.
Yeah. This is on MSNBC.
One of those who holds up an optimistic view of the post-war scene. Do you believe that the people of Iraq, or at least a large number of them, will treat us as liberators?
Absolutely.
This next clip is from Hannity and Combs on Fox News, February 21st, 2003.
Well, you make a good point as far as the cost of the war is concerned. But since we don't know, because war is so unpredictable, how much that cost is going to be, that's going to be a heavy burden on the American taxpayers. But post-Saddam Hussein Iraq is going to be paid for by the Iraqis. They have billions of dollars of income. They have vast oil reserves.
This next clip is from April 23rd, 2003.
It's not a history of clashes that are violent between Sunnis and Shias, so I think they can probably get along.
We're going to win this.
This is again February 21st, 2003 on Fox News.
Victory. Tragically, we will lose American lives, but it will be brief. We're going to find out massive evidence of weapons of mass destruction, and we're going to find the incredible brutalities that this dictator has inflicted upon the Iraqi people. And so I think he's going to be justified. I'm confident that he will be justified.
I am confident that all those things that you predict are going to come true, and a lot of people that have been laying out the case against us are going to be very embarrassed.
That was Hannity, by the way.
Was a lonely goat, loud was the voice of the lonely.
There you go. There's John McCain, who we will hear from over and over again. And, of course, we'll also hear from Mitt Romney, who thought that the real danger with Iraq is that, or with Syria, is that Iran will be able to have access to the water. To the ocean, the Mediterranean Sea, because, of course, Iran and Syria border each other in Mitt Romney's mind.